Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
Kickers, man. Damn, this shit sucks. Are you kidding me? I played against Chris Boswell. I asked Noah if I could start out like this. This is stupid. Get kickers out of your leagues. I literally lost because of Chris suck my ass Boswell. 24 points from a kicker. I have Achan and Kamara. Suck my ass, dude. This sucks. What a complete waste of fantasy football. 24 points. His team isn't even that great. The guy I played against doesn't have a good team, and I lost. I'm hanging on by a thread. And I'm Wes Selby.
And he's Wes Selby. And welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy. A lot of emotions running high after Week 11 fantasy football. Just 3 weeks out from the start of the fantasy playoffs. Shit's getting real. All right, it's getting real. It's getting serious, and it's getting real serious. So we're hanging on by threads, and we're doing the best that we can. And it's a pretty good week for me.
It's so dumb. What the hell is why is it kicker in fantasy football? Which kicker? You're like, I'm drafting this guy. You draft Justin Tucker? Good. He missed like 83 field goals on Sunday. Golly. There's no point in kickers. It's just so annoying.
Yeah.
Oh.
I low-key kind of am the kicker whisperer because I don't know what his total final point total came out to. Let's see, actually.
I have Kaimi Fairbairn this year. In like one of the leagues, I have kickers.
I won by... I probably still would have won because I had Joe Mixon on. But I had Boswell as well.
Come on, you're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem, dude. I'm so
sorry. Rooting for kickers. You're over there like, I don't need to have a good team. Wait. I'll just kick it 17 times in the most boring game on Sunday. And what now?
Lost. No, I would have lost before the week started. Before the week started, I had listen to me. I had Brandon Aubrey, the kicker that you're like is like sought after, like first kicker taken off the board in fantasy drafts. I had Brandon Aubrey, and I was like, nah, man. I was like, this Cowboys offense is gonna be rough. Can't do it. Dropped him. Picked up Boswell. Ended up winning
to get everybody needs kickers out of their fantasy
ended up winning
leagues.
by 16 points, and Boswell scored 19 more points than Aubrey did. So I legitimately would have lost if I didn't do it. So anyway, yeah, kickers are I still hold that sentiment strongly of get kickers out of your leagues. It's so dumb. It's so
aggravating. Dumb. We have a good show for you today.
We have such a good show for you guys.
Happy time. Golly.
This chapter title on the YouTube bar is just kickers. That's just all it's going to be right there.
We got to remember all the censors.
We got a great show for you guys. They're going to update the monetization settings there in just a sec. But Fluke for real, Waiver Wire, Victory Lap, of course, and then Thursday Night Football Preview. It was an interesting week, okay? A lot of people were letdowns, and kickers, more often than not, just fucked you. So that's how that went. And
there's no way we're going to censor all this. You're going to remember?
What a lucky guy. Yeah, dude. It's all within the first 5 minutes of the episode. We're good.
Okay, no problem.
Follow us on all our socials. All that is linked down below. We're giving away a signed James Cook jersey to a patron over at our patreon.com/Fourth and Troll Fantasy. You are there and you're part of our community over there, giving away a signed James Cook jersey this season. So make sure you get over there if you're interested in that, which who wouldn't be. We have merch. fourthandtrollstore.com. Good week for Cook, by the way. Just expecting a bit of a stinker. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and then a couple pieces of news to talk about, Wes, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, very short news segment, which is great because we have a lot for Fluke for real we want to encourage everyone about. Okay, first things first, biggest news. Obviously, everyone's talking about it. Head over to New York, try out for quarterback because right now Daniel Jones is being benched and Tommy DeVito is starting. he started this. Did you know that Tommy DeVito invented this?
Yeah,
This is the DeVito invented this here, this move. Hey, I'm throwing touchdowns here.
Where's the gabagool?
And I asked Noah like when that news came out. It was like, really? I had Drew Lock in a couple league ready for this move. Yeah,
the Giants are like 101. Give us the first pick. Who's starting a quarterback? Not Daniel Jones. How about Drew Lock? Nah, he'll win a game.
He'll win.
Tommy DeVito.
Right.
Tommy DeVito, roll him out there. Yeah.
We need a tank.
There you go.
So only two pieces of news so far going into week 12. Darnell Mooney suffered a hamstring injury. Don't worry, we're already concerned about the Achilles injury. Now it's a different kind of injury. It's considered not to be serious, but he is still questionable for next game. And last but not least, George Kittle will practice this Wednesday since he missed Sunday's game due to his hamstring injury, and he's expected to play this week. That's it. Now let's talk about we did our best. We really kind of scraped the barrel for some victory laps of what we
It's
have.
tough. It's tough stuff. All right. I don't even feel good taking the George Pickens lap because it was like fine, but it was like 16 points and I had him as my stud wide receiver. I'll take what we can get. But that whole game was just tainted because we were just three of our four studs for the week were Steelers, and Russell Wilson returned to form. Unfortunately, so
with a victory,
shout out Chris Boswell for the victory. I guess I don't know.
Don't shout him out.
Anyway, my will victory lap is Jerry Jeudy. He was my waiver wire ad 2 weeks ago. Brought him up, said, "Hey, he had a lot of targets here, and this is really interesting." And over his 2 games, he's had like 20 targets with Jameis. They're going into the bye week, so you'll probably be able to get him. But grab him and play him because I grab him and at least hold him because he is going to be a guy that it looks like this volume is going to be pretty intense for this passing offense, which I was going to save this for Thursday Night Football to talk about Jameis Winston, but I'm just going to talk about it right now.
Go for it.
I went and looked at the 17 game pace that Jameis Winston is on over his 3 starts for the Browns. If this was week 1, and we just got through week 3 with Jameis Winston, he'd be on pace for 754 pass attempts.
Wow.
And almost 5,500 yards and 34 passing touchdowns. So make sure you stay through the Thursday Night Football preview because we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But 754. I don't think anyone's thrown that. I don't think Brady gone to 750.
Brady's thrown 700 times in like his last.
Dude, like it's just like it's over 40 pass attempts in every game for Jameis so far. And so,
dude, I mean, Brady threw it 66 times in that final playoff game against the Cowboys. He threw it 66 times. So, I mean, speaking of former Buccaneers quarterbacks. Anyway, this guy's slinging
Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy. And there's a lot of passing volume to go around there. So I'll victory lap that one because we pointed that out a few weeks early. Hopefully you have him because he's been really solid, and we'll talk about him more a little bit later. So that's it.
Nice.
I'll take what I can get.
Nice work. I know we have to try to help our viewers know like we get some things right. We're not perfect, clearly, but Evan Ingram was in fact a dud. It was actually second worst game on the entire season, not counting the game that he actually was still like starting and pulled his hamstring injury, and then Brenton Strange went in. Second worst of the entire year, single digits. This was a bad game, and that's what it looks like with Mac Jones. So, sure, maybe keep him if Trevor Lawrence is healthy after the bye week. I don't know, but keep looking out for tight ends. We have some tight ends we're going to talk about coming up in our Fluke for Real segment. So maybe that's your replacement. Chase Brown, I said, is a lock in your lineup. Do not change him out. He is your starter for the rest of the season, and he's proven that again, especially against a good rush defense like the Chargers. This is great news for Chase Brown. I'm very excited for him. I don't have him in any leagues. I wish I did. He's going to be great. Dude. And then last but not least, I threw out Nick Westbrook-Akine as a waiver wire ad a week or two ago, and he is also in our Fluke for Real segment. Very interesting stat line, but hey, there he is. Waiver wire ad again for a lot of people. Maybe you already have him. Maybe you can probably use him. Who knows? But just throwing it out there. This guy's had 5 touchdowns in 6 weeks, 1 every game. So there's a lot to look forward to for this Titans offense. Possibly. Anyway, that's that
as
for the
as a Calvin Ridley owner, I'm a little pissed. But
the Ridley just kind of disappeared again. No
he did, but he didn't, because he had a 51-yard touchdown called back on some dude. These bullshit illegal formation penalties are pissing me off. The amount of stuff that happens and then gets called back on it. Oh,
yep.
Oh, we're not talking about Ridley because it wasn't like a terrible enough stat line to like talk about in Fluke for real. But for my Ridley owners out there, you're disappointed because he was going off, and then when you finally started him, he did 9.5. Y'all, it was gonna be another 20-point game. He had a 51-yard touchdown where he's wide open, and it stand strong. All right,
stand strong.
Can I back you up a little bit, Wes? Here, can I just hype you up a little bit on Chase Brown?
You can back me up, dude.
Can I back that ass up on you real quick? Is that cool?
Right here. Just
okay.
Right on me, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, so here we go. Chase Brown. I want to just talk about it real quick because I was thinking about it. I was watching the game, and fun one, by the way. Sunday Night Football was.
Oh yeah, good time.
But over his last 3 games, Chase Brown, 17-game pace of 130 targets, 107 receptions, 827 receiving yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. It's wide receiver 21 last year, and that's just receiving work.
That's awesome.
Like I wrote this down, and this is going to be in our things to remember for next year. At the end of the season, we're going to talk about it. But Chase Brown is going to be a guy who's going to be worth probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and he's probably going to be going in the 5th round. And so we gotta keep thinking about this, because I mean, barring them bringing someone else in, it really seems like they're very happy giving him the opportunity, the workload that Joe Mixon saw, and they really like him. And Burrow loves throwing the ball. It's ridiculous how good he is, dude.
Yeah,
it is, and we knew it. Like, I drafted him in a handful of leagues, and then it was like, oh, this sucks. He's like not involved at all. So anyway,
Moss was doing so great before, and he got hurt, and Brown just took Zach Moss's role in Cincinnati for next season too. So
yeah, big time.
There's that. Okay, enough of this.
There it is. All right, waiver wire. Let's jump into it. It's week 12. We're going to give you 3 guys here, plus some honorable mentions. So make sure you stick around for that. But 3 guys to talk about here. Starting out with, we said we're going to mention some tight ends. And I've already mentioned this guy once before. I just want to hammer it home again because I mentioned him once, and then it was like he had his bad game of the stretch. But Hunter Henry, poor game 2 weeks ago, back in week 10. Bounced back to where he had been at over this last month, really, month and a half. 5 of his last 6 games, he's had over 9.5 fantasy points, and he's only scored 1 touchdown amongst those 6 games. So if he continues to get back into the end zone, like we saw him do in Drake May's first start with him, I believe we'll be able to see some positive touchdown regression. And I think Hunter Henry is kind of going to be an answer to prayer for some of these tight ends, maybe your Evan Ingrams, your Jake Fergusons, your guys that are going to struggle down the stretch here with either poor quarterback play or a backup or something like that. So Hunter Henry, that's the guy I have personally pivoted to. I also have Zach Ertz rostered, but Hunter Henry is likely going to find his way into my lineup a lot down the stretch here in the fantasy football season. And then another guy here I just want to mention, quarterback, Justin Herbert. Okay. I was out on Herbert coming into the year. Why? Because they're going to run the ball a ton. They have been, but over the past month, Justin Herbert is the QB 6. He's been really, really good over the last 4 games. He's been really, really solid. And who does he play next week? The Baltimore Ravens. So if you've got a quarterback on bye week, excuse me, Justin Herbert should be available. I know I hedged everything on on Russell Wilson against the Baltimore Ravens last week, and it didn't work. I believe this should. And so, yeah, Herbert's been really good. He's building a lot of rapport with his pass catchers. Mention one of them here in just these honorable mentions. But two guys there. Yeah, Hunter Henry, Justin Herbert, two guys that I think you need to be looking at, considering spending some fab, some waiver priority on.
And Justin Herbert's rest of season schedule is absolutely delicious, except for week 16, that second to last round of playoffs. If you do make it, that's Denver. Yeah. But next week is Baltimore, and then it's the Falcons, and then it's the Chiefs, and then it's the Buccaneers. Then it's Denver, and then if you have him and you're in the finals for your playoffs, then it's the Patriots. This guy has such a great schedule. I picked him up last week in order to make sure I had him for Cincinnati and Baltimore and going forward in one of my leagues. Okay, here's the waiver wire ad everyone's talking about. Is this for real? Is this Fluke for real? There's a tight end / quarterback who scored over 40 points.
That's running back, dude.
Like running back / head coach / GM / water boy. He is everything. This is Taysom Hill, the mayor of New Orleans. Taysom Hill was the Saints' entire team on Sunday. Now, is he a waiver wire ad? Absolutely. When a guy does something like that, of course you put him on your team, but is he for real? Is this someone you're going to actually try to start? Well, one, the tight end position can always use someone that can have that kind of a ceiling. So yes, you can start him over most tight ends going forward. However, the reason he should be on your team, and you can probably start him regardless, even as a flex option, is because of how injured and depleted the Saints offense is. All around, their wide receivers are banged up. They don't have a lot of backups for Alvin Kamara as well. There are injuries there too. All over the place. They're just like a nursing home. I mean, they look like a wounded soldiers lined up all around, and they're just saying, please someone play for the Saints. Taysom Hill can prove he can dominate all around, throwing, rushing, and receiving. He threw an interception, and he still had over 41 points in the league that I'm in. Phenomenal for him. So absolutely spend your waiver wire for him, because he could be a game breaker for the rest of this season. If he can even do anything half of that, because half of that is still over 20 points. It's fantastic. Absolutely get Taysom Hill.
What are you gonna? What's your risk? Oh no, I had T.J. Hawkinson. That would have been a way better play. Oh, if he has a dud, if Hill has a dud week? Oh, he only scored 6 points. Cool. Hawkinson scored 3 on your bench. So there you go.
Yeah. There it is.
We got to have a conversation, because at a certain point, okay, can we cut with like the bullshit tight end eligibility? Like at a certain point, they've got to shift his position to like running back or something.
They have to make it more fair.
Get him out of quarterback too. Like that's the thing. Like I saw somebody start him. Well, actually, no, that's fine if you want to do that. I saw somebody start him at their quarterback position in a dynasty league this week, and I was like,
"That's awesome."
So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so pretty awesome stuff. Honorable mentions here, just to mention, these are guys that, hey, don't necessarily spend a waiver on, and don't spend your fab on. But if these guys clear and they're there, take a look and consider them if you're in a position of need, because we got a few guys here. Blake Corum and Cam Akers. Both are solid handcuffs. Both will get the lead role whenever their guys go out, if they do. And we've seen these guys be hurt a lot. But they're also getting a little bit of standalone value as far as their involvement goes. Curtis Samuel, been productive over the last 2 weeks out of nowhere. But what happens when some guys return? What happens when Keon Coleman comes back to the lineup? What happens when Dalton Kincaid returns to the lineup? That's something we're going to have to consider as well. Elijah Moore, we mentioned the volume in Cleveland and the passing attack and the amount of targets. He's a guy that's very interesting. Will Dissly, emerging potentially as my waiver wire ad, Justin Herbert's number 2 target. Greg Roman talking a lot about how these guys have a good connection, how Dissly's sneaky good in the passing game. So a good option there. And then Kendrick Bourne, first game back with Drake May this season, did well, 5 for 5, scored a touchdown. Really solid week for him. So just some people to keep your eye on, are probably available in most of the leagues that you're in. So if you're in a deeper league, those are some good options for you as well. Some honorable mentions there. Let's jump into Fluke for real. Breaking down the best performances of the week, letting you know if there's a sign of things to come, or the bad performances. Are we looking at things going forward like this, or are things going to change? We just mentioned it and talked about him. Taysom Hill, 42.5 fantasy points. 1 for 2 in the passing game, 18 yards and an interception. 7 carries for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. 8 catches on 10 targets for 50 yards receiving. Dude, I would take 8 for 10 with 50 yards just from my tight end.
Cup stat line.
Yeah, I would just take 13 points from my tight end spot. Like, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
And he had a fumble, so I'd take 11 points from my tight end spot and be like, oh, thank God. Made out well this week. Nice, this is great. So he just has all these different options for you in the game. Yeah, I hate this guy with a passion, but it's for real. Like, he's so annoying, but it's to a point where it's like how Tyler Lockett used to be. Of like, you would draft Lockett and you know he'd finish the season as like a top 15 or 20 guy, but you just have to roll with the punches on it. And it would be 1 week he'd get you 30, and then another week he'd get you 4. And so that's kind of how you got to go with Taysom. But I'm with the landscape of the tight end spot, unless you have one of like the top. Unless you have the top guy, Brock Bowers. There you go. Unless you have Brock Bowers, you can roll out Taysom Hill and just roll with the punches, like, especially with how injured they are. So, for sure. Another tight end to talk about here. We mentioned him when Fluke for real before. Is Jonnu Smith. 28.1 fantasy points, 6 catches on 8 targets, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Respectfully, I hate you. But I'm grateful that you're on my favorite football team, and I like the fantasy production in the tight end spot. So this is for real, but it's coming at the cost of Jalen Waddle and even Tyreek Hill. Like, at a point, I would say, like, why was Tyreek Hill not the one where that route was designed for? Was wide open down the field. Like,
why is the tight end?
Why did that happen? It's just it's just. Like, we
very
watched
different Dolphins offense.
Last year, we were like, everyone was like, we need a tight end. And it was like, McDaniel's scheme doesn't use a tight end. No, we don't. Like, we don't need a tight end. And it was like, oh, we just need a tight end better than Durham Smythe. And then I guess we use the tight end. Like, I guess that's how that goes. Well, so
they got rid of Mike Gesicki, so I don't understand why this year Jonnu Smith is lighting it up with Tyreek Hill and
but Gesicki had to have a. I think Gesicki, it was like he had done enough in his career at that point. Sorry, I'm looking at this more as a Dolphins fan now than anything. But Gesicki had done enough in his career at that point that the contract that maybe he might have needed to be given, they probably weren't willing to do that. Yeah. But
Okay.
I don't know. He went to New England on like a 1 year and got $8 million. Anyway, but Jonnu Smith is the same kind of situation as Taysom Hill. It's like, if they can keep rolling him out, he's super involved. He's getting a ton of targets and yeah, they should be in a good spot to be able to do that, especially against New England this upcoming week. So there you go. Anthony Richardson, 30.08 fantasy points, 2 rushing touchdowns. That's fine. That's cool. Here's what I want to talk about.
Is he back?
20 for 30, 272 and a tud. 272 against the Jets.
That is most
20
of the
for
season.
30, 67% completion. Best of his career, probably. I don't know that for a fact, but it probably
passing
is.
Yards of his career. Yep. Tied for most.
It's probably highest completion percentage, if I had to guess, but I don't know for sure.
But I mean, come on.
If it were like an easy. Well, one, actually, I'll just say this real quick. The Jets defense sucks, dude. They fell off so bad, but he passed the eye test in the passing game, man. And in crunch time, too. Like, they got the ball back with a chance to win the game, and like his first pass of the drive was like a beam down the sideline to Alec Pierce, and it was like, oh, wait, is he maybe okay? I'm gonna leave it at do it again, and like I want to see it, but I'm not like running to pick him up.
Here's my biggest problem with this.
Yeah,
is there's no reason to have him on your team,
right?
Because
if you made it this far and you're still like paying attention to waivers and shit, like you
may need insurance.
You're probably fine. Like, you probably don't need go. Yeah, if you need insurance, go get Justin Herbert. Like that's where I'm kind of Yeah, you make a good point. You don't have a reason to need him.
Yeah, like, okay, so I'm a Jaden Daniels owner, okay? And I draft Daniels for the rushing upside, okay? And then I see what Anthony Richardson just did. Here's the big hesitation I have with this. Next week is Detroit. And then the week after that is New England.
Yeah.
That should be a good game for him, right? Okay. Then it's the bye week. And then week 15 is Denver. First round of playoffs.
Yeah.
It's against Denver. Second week of playoffs. If you make it and you're starting Richardson, it's against the Titans. You start him there, and then you make it against the Giants, who do have a good defense. They do not have a good offense, but they have a good defense with some Pro Bowlers and some great players on there. So I'm going to say this is a fluke because there's no way for him to have this kind of stat line against the remainder of the season. But there's consideration for next year with drafting him. He's going to be a much later draft pick than he was going into this season. So I say fluke because this is the best it'll be for 2024.
Yeah. Josh Downs, 19.4 fantasy points. This, I said do it again. Last time it was with Richardson. Because last time he was with Richardson, he scored upwards of 20 fantasy points. So he did it again. So everything applies, what you just said about Richardson, to Downs, to the matchups, but I would safely play Downs as a flex if I needed it.
With 5 targets,
I wouldn't be scared to. I wouldn't be scared to. He's gotten in the end zone both of his last games with Richardson. He nearly got in the end zone twice this game before with Richardson. It's clear that Steichen has a plan and schemes Downs to get the looks and get the chances to make a play. So I wouldn't be previously. I wouldn't touch Josh Downs. I'm not scared to put him in my. I'm not like super scared to put him in my flex if I needed to. But ideally,
I would week 13 for sure against New England.
Yeah, and I mean you could. The crazy thing is you actually can pass the ball against the Lions. It's more that you can't run the ball against them. I was like shocked on Sunday. I kept getting the sleeper notifications. I was like, Mac Jones, 23-yard completion of Brian Thomas Jr. And I was like, what the hell is like? What do you? I got like 4 of those throughout the game, and I was like, what do you mean that's happening? But anyway, MVS Marcus Valdes-Scantling talked about him last week. Said do it again. He said, cool, I'll do it again. The targets improved by 1. But I mean, yeah, he's just playing this Shaheed role. I think it's just what he's doing. And if Carr is out there and you just, again, they just have this effort attitude, like he's probably if you're making a choice on your flex and it's like this guy or MVS, like I don't fault you for thinking that after 2 games like this, when we've seen Shaheed be the explosive play kind of guy in this offense. And it feels like he's just taking that role.
Sure.
So I don't fault you, but
yeah, the question, the devil's advocate of this is, are you going to, if you're in win now, like if you need to win, 2 or 3 of your next games to make playoffs or to have a better seeding, is MVS the guy you're going to line up in your flex option? I guess it depends on the matchup. It's a toss up, but I mean,
it's a worthy stat line. It's like what it is, and so it's like. As much as you consider Xavier Worthy, or exactly, it's a Shaheed, it's a Worthy, it's a Alec Pierce, it's but he's batting 1,000 for the Saints, so it's like, well, maybe, maybe this is it. I don't know.
If let's just say that he won't be in our Fluke for Real segment anymore because I expect him next week to get 2 points.
Right.
And so let's just talk about it now so we can save time, because then the week after that he'll get like 17 points, and the week after and the rest of the season he'll get like 5.
You're probably never going to play him when you need to. Like when you guess backwards. It's going to be wrong. And so anyway, it's tough. Christian Watson, next guy here, 19 fantasy points, 4 catches on 4 targets for 150 yards. Unfortunately, it's great to see. I like Christian Watson. I'm glad he's staying a little more healthy, but this is it's how this Packers offense goes, and it feels like it's impossible to predict. And not as like volatile as Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Rashid Shaheed, but because I believe he is infinitely more talented than those guys. But you're never going to predict the right game, like especially in this Packers offense. Everyone this week was like, Tucker Kraft's going to be a great play. He scored 0 points. It's like you just
Right.
never know who is going to get the looks and who's going to be the guy who's going to make a difference there. If it's going to be Dobbs, if it's going to be Reed, if it's going to be Christian Watson, if it's going to be Wicks, if it's going to be Bo Melton, if it's going to be Tucker Kraft, if it's going to be Josh Jacobs getting a shit ton of targets. It's like you just don't know which guy it's going to be. And so that's the disappointing part, and the hard part with it is that you want to be able to trust something like this because we were introduced to Christian Watson with the Rodgers era Packers and him being an absolute monster for production, touchdowns, like 6 touchdowns in like 4 games or something like that. It was crazy. But unfortunately, it's just the nature of the offense, I think.
And Jordan Love is on a bit of a down stretch too. Like he started out the year like
stinky poopy diaper butt. It's quarterback.
Yeah, and like week 1 against Eagles in Brazil was fine. It's where he had I thought for a moment Love was just done for the year. I thought they were going to welcome to 2024. Jordan Love is done. He can't walk. But he came back and he was on a heater. 4 touchdowns in his first game against Minnesota, which he tried to come back and win. And then 2 touchdowns against the Rams, 4 against the Cardinals, 3 against Houston. And then he got hurt in week 8 and has thrown 1 touchdown since. So that's been a bad part. And that's why I say this is a fluke, because you can't predict. And Jordan Love has not been the same. So there's questions also in the passing game. Josh Jacobs has looked like a top 10 running back that I thought he would be all of a sudden. He suddenly looks like an elite running back in fantasy. So more reason to say that's a fluke for
upside.
Yeah, so out of nowhere. It's never been part of his career, but Watson, I think, is a fluke.
It's fair. Nick Westbrook-Akine, mentioned him in Victory Lap West, 19.7 fantasy points on the back of a 98-yard touchdown. He's finding the end zone. It was unfortunate that the week you were like, hey, go pick him up. He's scoring a lot, that he like scored like 4 points and like that was it. Yeah. But one way or another, he got there, and it took a long play to do it. He's out on the field a lot. I'm not saying like, I feel a little similarly to like, I think it's a safe desperation flex floor play. Like floor play. Whoa.
Hey, wait a minute.
Take it easy, guys.
Stop.
Nick Westbrook, that Akine somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. I don't know what I'm saying, to be honest.
Made sense.
Yeah, that didn't add up at all, to be honest. Anyway, it's hard. He is finding the end zone. So you take pride in that, but it's, I don't know.
There's so many reasons to say this is a fluke, that he keeps scoring, but it's also not like he's not breaking 20 points. So it's not like
that's true. Yeah.
You're not really having a real game changer. Like you're just having a nice, solid, teen digit kind of.
Yeah. It's a safe floor. Score. It's a safe floor play. If you need it, if you are desperate and you need that kind of thing. So there you go. And then Javonte Williams, dude, piss off. You were dead in the water 2 weeks ago, and I was like, told you guys, Audric Estime, grab him, get him, so you can just bend you over and screw you, because it's just not going to be involved after. Like, it was just so annoying. Like, it was like, I think I already said it once. I don't like Sean Payton as a person, and this is why. Because it was like even this week he doubled down on it. It was like, yeah, it's really good and gonna get him some more opportunities. And then he was like, Estime was just kicked to the curb, and he got a few because it was a blowout. But and he came out and said because they mentioned, hey Sean, you had said we're hoping to get him a little more chances here. And he just kind of acknowledged it's tough when you have 3 guys that are playing well, and you want to be able to get the young guy more chances. And I'm like, I couldn't fault him, because I was watching Javonte play, and it was like, oh damn, that's the best I think he's looked this season. He's doing work there. So I think it's just a backfield I'm just going to stay away from now because I just don't know what to do. It's really
tough.
It's a bummer.
And it's
anyway,
too late in
Javonte
the
had
year.
19 fantasy points, and do you want to rely on Javonte going into the fantasy playoffs? And I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about some bad guys. Bad guys. 5 guys here to talk about. Deebo Samuel is the first one, 6.1 fantasy points. I mean, it's been a pretty disappointing year beyond a few games. And
first 2 weeks. Beautiful.
Brock Purdy loves Juwan Jennings. That's like awesome. I have Deebo Samuel in a dynasty league. And I before the games on Sunday, before the trade deadline hit, before the game started, I didn't trade Deebo. I still have Deebo on my team, but I went and traded for Juwan Jennings as well. And I was like,
wow,
I'm a contender in this league. I needed an additional. There's like 4 flex spots. It's like a deep starting lineup.
Oh my goodness.
And so I needed another piece because I had Olave and he got hurt. And I was like, I'll roll out both the Niners receivers. Because Jennings is going to be awesome. So anyway, but Deebo 6.1 fantasy points. He had a fine week last week, but it's just been like a weird roller coaster with him. And I think he's so good that, I believe he's such a talented player that maybe if he goes on a run here, it's gonna be really special. But I don't blame you for considering other options given how deep your wide receiver group could be.
You know what would be easier? It'd be easier if Christian McCaffrey had a 25-point fantasy game. And this was the byproduct McCaffrey's back. What a welcome. His first game was okay at 14 points, but then he had a full week of practice and had a game under his belt in the season. Now he's back and he's awesome. But that didn't happen. And so there is some concern. And I'm feeling quite good.
Bad. McCaffrey wasn't bad for what it's worth. It just wasn't, your 20-point plus what you expect. I got 16 points.
I bring that up because Deebo had 1 carry for one negative yard rushing. And that's also part of his game.
And no George Kittle in this game either.
And no Kittle.
That was a bigger piece of it that was like, whoa.
Obviously no Ayuk.
That's why I mentioned why I traded Juwan Jennings. It's like he's becoming the top pass catcher. And I mean, well, I'll say Kittle probably. Well, actually, I don't know. I think Juwan Jennings is the top pass catcher in that team.
You know what I did in our family league, Noah?
What'd you do?
Week 5, I don't know, 4 or something. I don't know if you saw this. I traded away Deebo Samuel and Stephon Diggs in the same trade. And I got Garrett Wilson and Tony Pollard in return. And it didn't look like it was an amazing trade. And then Garrett Wilson started to come alive, and it was like, okay, awesome. And now I have a very solid 4th running back to my team. But I'm so happy I don't have Deebo to deal with because this is frustrating. And I think you roll him out because it's Deebo Samuel. You'll know the ceiling is as high as any wide receiver, but it's quite frustrating. And Juwan Jennings is the real deal. And I mean, it's like they forced Juwan to get the touchdown because he was having such a great drive too. That they were like, you need to score.
Dude, I know. I swore it was going to be McCaffrey's touchdown right there because he had the run to get him down to that point, and he nearly got in, and then it was like, nope, it's just another one. Nope. I don't know, man. That's going to be interesting, especially start of next year with Ayuk returning off the ACL. It's going to be very, very. He could be a sneaky draft pick for the first few weeks for sure. I was gonna say something else about you. I would start Ladd McConkey over Deebo. I think.
I
think so.
Yeah,
I would this week for sure. He's playing Baltimore. I would play Ladd. I would play Ladd over Deebo.
Yeah.
I think I'd play.
He had a great game Sunday night.
I'd play Cortland Sutton over Deebo. I'd play Calvin Ridley over Deebo. I'd play it's a conversation for sure. Deebo isn't that top 15 guy. He's riding around top 20.
So many bad weeks in a row. I can see someone doing that. Like, I will do that. I do have Debo in a couple leagues still. Okay.
Yeah. So
next guy,
Kyle Pitts, 1 catch, 9 targets. It's just such a roll. It's just such a roll. Well, that's the thumbs down, honestly, to all of Atlanta, because that was a garbage game.
That was a
terrible game. Ooh. And I know it's Denver, and the Denver defense is really good. Pitts has been was really up and down, especially to start the year. Went on a bit of a good streak of solid games. So with the landscape, like I mentioned a few times here, you're likely still playing him unless you have somebody else, and just hoping that he gets more targets than 3 and more catches, and maybe benefits if Darnell Mooney has a little bit of time missed or something. But 1.9, not great, Bob.
He's had double-digit games since week 8. He hasn't had a double-digit game since week 8. No, 2
have
points.
They had a bye?
9.5. They're going into their bye week right now. 9.5.
Wow, and then so that's been like 3 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I get it was really bad to start the year, and then he had a nice streak, as you said, weeks 5 through 8. But I mean, shoo, I might go pick
Hunter
up
Henry or Kyle Pitts.
Hunter Henry, one of your waiver wire ads.
Interesting. Okay,
just to see.
It's a good conversation. Yeah. 2 more tight ends, and then we'll go to running back, and then we'll move on. Travis Kelce, 2.8 fantasy points. TJ Hawkinson, 3.3 fantasy points. I'm going to call Fluke on both these guys, actually. I think both these guys are good to be involved in their team's offense. I'm not sure what happened with Minnesota, that they weren't necessarily – Darnold was throwing touchdowns and scoring. Yeah, missed on that one too, by the way. Dude, that was like insane. My opponent I was playing in one of our leagues had Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson, and was rolled with 4th and troll and played Russell Wilson instead of Sam Darnold, and he still wouldn't have won if he had played Darnold. But anyways, I think it's a fluke on both these guys. I think you can still safely play these guys, and that's my opinion. But
I think Hawkinson has some concern, because this is Darnold's first year, and he didn't get to. I was thinking about it. He didn't get to do any of the training camp with Hawkinson because Hawkinson wasn't around to practice during the offseason.
Yeah.
And then this was also a mix between Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy for most of the offseason until like week 1 or 2 of preseason. So I don't think there's been any chemistry at all for Darnold to play or prepare for Hawkinson. So I think this is just going to be Justin Jefferson from here on out. And so I do have concern for Hawkinson. I'll go on record and say I do think this is for real. I think he will have some good games, but I can see this kind of stat line happening again.
It's certainly possible. He had 15.2 fantasy points last week, and he didn't score a touchdown. And he got 9 targets in the game. So it's definitely could be more of a roller coaster than you want it to be, but I believe he's very talented. And so
I think so too. He's
so
awesome.
we'll see where that goes.
Good
and then
hair.
The last guy here, Kyren Williams, good hair. Kyren Williams, 8.6 fantasy points, disappeared from the passing game, didn't score a touchdown. This is 3 weeks in a row of Kyren being a little disappointing, and I could understand if you wanted to call it for real, but he's still out there for like over 80% of the offensive plays. And so I'm bummed, but I'm not like panicking. His game against Miami was better than I think I even realized, because watching that game, I was like, oh, we shut down Kyren, and he still scored in that game 11.2 fantasy points. And I was like, oh, I thought we completely shut him down. So I was like I was shocked. He's still running the ball efficiently. His yards per carry is still this week, 5.7 against Miami, 4.1. It's been 3 down games in a row outside the top 20 on the week. But I think McVay loves him, and it's going to be a tough matchup against Philly for sure. But Stafford was just dealing, I think, dude. Stafford had a great Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, when you got Puka and Cooper Kupp, you can just kind of sling it all around. So here's one thing. I think against the Eagles next week, Kyren might have another single-digit game, or at least a very low double-digit scoring game.
Yeah.
And then I think the rest of the season is going to be fantastic because then it's
Yeah.
the Saints, and then it's the Bills, then it's the Niners, and then it's the Jets. Don't be fooled. The Jets defense sucks. It doesn't matter what position.
Yeah.
And then to close out the season is against the Cardinals. Rams usually have the Cardinals number in their NFC West matchups. 49ers have the Rams. Rams have the Cardinals. Cardinals have the Seahawks. Seahawks usually have the 49ers. It's usually kind of somewhere around that.
I love
circle.
Inception, dude. Such a good movie.
Yeah, dude, kind of good movie.
Yeah.
14th year anniversary, I think. Anyway, whatever.
Something
That's
like
it.
Cool. Let's jump into a Thursday night preview to close things out. Steelers at the Browns. Must starts, risky starts, and don't starts, guys. You got to get in the lineup, guys that you might need to have a little bit of caution on, and guys that you should not have in that lineup. This will be fun. Wes, take it away. You go first with must starts.
Yes, there are actually a lot of players I think that are probably like a lot of them are all worth risk. I feel like it's like there's a chance that they could all do really well and they could all just kind of miss altogether. So I think I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to say my must start is Nick Chubb. No, obviously not. I'm kidding. Shout out to our Discord.
Shout out to our Discord. He's gonna go crazy over that one.
No, it's not Nick Chubb. He shouldn't be on your team anymore. That being said, no, I looked through both these teams, and there's not really anyone that I feel completely confident in. I could take the layup, but I'll go a little bit less of an obvious one. I think you can roll out Russell Wilson again as a must start. If you got Russ and you got you decided to fully shift to Russell Wilson for your quarterback, and then you saw this game against the Ravens, you're like, that was supposed to be it. Like we thought it was, and it wasn't. I think that is just John Harbaugh versus Mike Tomlin, and we got to remember that for the next time, because that's just the way that those two great coaches will play against each other. So I think Russell Wilson is a great start against this Browns defense, and you saw what happened to them last week. So let's roll them out, and as in like Taysom Hill is going to be the same as Russell Wilson for this week. But that being said, Russ, I think is a must start. I think you can have full confidence in him. Yeah,
I fully agree with that. My must start is Jerry Jeudy. I think you have to roll him out. I think he's with the amount that this team is passing the football, even in a tough matchup. I think he's had 30 targets over his first 3 games with Jameis. I think he is going to continue to be great. I think he is going to be a very safe option for you to start your week with. He's scored over 12.9 fantasy points in every game with Jameis. Cleveland is the most pass-heavy team in the league since Jameis took over. They're throwing the football nearly 70% of the time. It's insane. I saw someone making a joke that they were like, I wonder if he just audibles when he gets to the line every time. he was like, kill. And it's just he's ready to pass it. But so I think if you have Jerry Jeudy, especially you get some guys going on a bye week, you got some teams like the Bills going on a bye, the Jets going on a bye. This is a good option for you. And I think it's really, I think he's a must start. I think Jerry Jeudy, if you have him, he needs to be in your lineup.
That'll be fun. It'll be fun to circle back to that and see if Jerry Jeudy really did prove that he is a starting wide receiver for the rest of the season, because that's a nice little story. Broncos fans are probably doing just fine right now. But regardless, we're talking about some risky players for this game. As I said, a lot of players I think do qualify for this. I'm going to lean towards the caution, don't start side of the risky play, where it's like, hey, this guy's been good, but I think this is not a good matchup. I still believe in my risky start, but I do not think you should roll out Cedric Tillman. My risky start is Cedric Tillman. I'm concerned for this matchup. I think he's still going to be part of this Browns passing team. I do think Jerry Jeudy is a factor. I do think Elijah Moore is a factor. But I think Cedric Tillman also showed to that offense that he is a difference maker. And he had plenty of targets too. I think he had like 6-7 targets against the Saints last week. So there's still reason to believe that this guy's involved, but the Steelers defense is not going to let anything happen. And we've seen that pretty much the entire year, and the way they are playing and how they keep these games close. That's one of the annoying things with the Steelers too. The score is always pretty close. So the teams the opponents aren't even like trying to catch up by throwing it a lot either. So it's a very difficult team to play against in fantasy because teams feel like they can run and catch up and play this clock management. I don't know. Anyway, Cedric Tillman I think is a bad risk for Thursday night.
Yeah, he's my risky start as well, actually. It's Cedric Tillman. Everything that I said about Jerry Jeudy applies to Cedric Tillman. They're passing the ball a ton. He's getting really good targets. I think they're both on track on a 17-game pace of like 160 plus targets, each of them. Elijah Moore is like very close to that too. And David Njoku is at like 130 target pace or something like that with Jameis. So it's everything applies. I'm just expecting the Joey Porter Jr. coverage to be on Cedric Tillman in this game. I think that's where they're going to put that at. And I think I don't know exactly how often Joey Porter Jr. shadows, but he is very good. Zay Flowers was like non-existent pretty much in this game until the very, very end. In this game this past week. So everything for Jerry Jeudy applies to Tillman. I agree with you, Wes. He's been really solid. I just think the matchup isn't good, especially with Joey Porter Jr. So risky and probably wouldn't do it. I'm pivoting if I have an option.
Yeah, I do have options. Obviously, I think everyone has an option if they did pick up Cedric Tillman.
Unless you have like a bunch of injuries, but yeah.
Injuries, bye weeks, and even then I would still look. I mean, who did we have for our waiver wires? You know, you talked about some honorable mentions. I mean, I don't know, maybe Kendrick Bourne, who knows? Demario Douglas is still available in a lot of leagues. I would rather start him than Cedric Tillman. Anyway, that being said, don't starts. A lot of players that you can still consider as risky and / don't start good starts. I'm gonna take just the layup. Because I don't feel confident that they're not going to do great. You know, if I'm going to name someone, I'm like, maybe Freiermuth does okay. I'm not going to say don't start Njoku because the passing is all over the place, but the Steelers have done really well against everybody. I'm not going to say don't start Jameis because, you never know. He can get a couple touchdowns. He's probably going to throw like 45 picks, so who knows? So I'm going to take the easy one. Don't start Nick Chubb. Forget about it. He shouldn't be on your team. Drop him. Get someone else.
Yeah, that's very fair. I'm going to go a step further here. I'm going to say don't start Jerome Ford because I think people might be thinking like, let me get cute here. And Ford's played over 50% of the snaps each of the last 2 weeks. Ford's getting the PPR work in this offense. Look at me in the eyes and tell me how often Jameis Winston checks down the ball. Nope, doesn't happen. Okay. He had 4 targets last week. He had 4 catches. So I get the thought, and you could be thinking about it, but I am steering clear when TJ Watt has a very safe chance to be the first guy to make contact with me. So there you go. That's it. Thanks for hanging with us. Fun one here. A little bit long. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Let you guys know we're still getting content out for you on Friday. Going to be a bit of an adjusted release of content. Got some things going on some trips, and obviously the holidays coming up. So Friday won't be a full episode. We'll be looking at getting you a couple short form pieces of content and stuff like that. But that will still be going out on Friday. So make sure you're sticking around for that and subscribed. Make sure you turn on that notification bell as well, because we'll make sure that you get that notification for it. And then we'll be back with you on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and then we've got our Thanksgiving special that we break the fourth wall here. If you're still here, we pre-recorded, but we got that for you. It's not going to be anything that we've recorded because we're going to be taking some time, spending some time with family. So anyway, follow us on our socials. Always getting stuff out for you. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and we will see you next time. My name is Noah Selby,
and I'm Wes Selby,
and this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.
4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.